They say life's a party. But what they don't tell you is sometimes the music stops, the lights come on, and you're left staring at a mess. That was me, standing amidst the wreckage of what I thought was a happy marriage. Our 10th anniversary bash was the epitome of perfection. A lavish affair where laughter flowed as freely as the champagne. My wife, Julia, was the belle of the ball, her smile as bright as the diamonds I'd gifted her. I was on top of the world, a self-made man who just clinched a deal that was the cherry on top of my already thriving business. Life was good, or so I thought. But soon after things started to change. Julia, once the anchor of my hectic life, became distant. Her presence at home dwindled. Work meetings and girls' nights filled her calendar. I tried to brush it off as a phase. After all, we were both busy adults, right? Then came the day that turned my doubts into cold, hard reality. I stumbled upon her phone, buzzing with a new message. Curiosity, they say, killed the cat. In my case, it shattered my world. The texts I saw were not just friendly. They were intimate, laced with a familiarity that twisted my gut into knots. They were from some guy named Mark, a name I'd never heard before. Confronting Julia was like igniting a powder keg. She denied everything, her words sharp and accusing. I was being paranoid, she claimed, suffocating her with my insecurities. But the trust between us had cracked, and I couldn't just let it go. So I did what any desperate, cornered husband would do. I hired a private investigator. It felt like a betrayal, a sordid step into a world I never thought I'd enter. Yet I needed the truth, no matter how ugly it might turn out to be. As days turned into weeks, the pie fed me bits and pieces of Julia's secret life. Each report, each photograph was a hammer blow to the life I'd built. It wasn't just texts anymore. There were dinners, late-night rendezvous, and that look in her eyes that I thought was reserved only for me. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a man who prided himself on making smart, calculated decisions, completely blindsided in the most personal aspect of his life. I thought I knew her. I thought we were happy. But as the evidence piled up, I had to face the harsh truth. The woman I loved, the woman I'd built a life with, was a stranger. The day I got those photos from the pie was the day my world stopped spinning. There they were, glossy, undeniable proof of Julia's affair. Seeing her with another man was like a punch to the gut. I sat there in my office, the pictures spread out on my desk like some grotesque collage, each one a betrayal. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what came next. I was at work, right in the middle of a meeting when I got served divorce papers in front of my entire team. The look of pity in their eyes was almost as painful as the contents of those papers. Julia was going for the jugular, not just half of our assets but full custody of our kids too. It felt like I was in some twisted nightmare. I moved out of our family home, our sanctuary of over a decade, and into a cramped apartment that echoed with the silence of my new reality. The walls were bare, the rooms filled with the ghosts of my former life. Adjusting was an understatement. I was sleepwalking through a life I didn't recognize. Then came the divorce proceedings. You see, in our society, divorce isn't just between two people. It's a spectacle, and ours was no exception. Accusations flew, dirty laundry was aired, and whatever shred of privacy or dignity I had left was trampled under the public's watchful eye. I'd become that guy, the one people whispered about in the corridors. The worst part? The affair went public. Julia's once pristine social image was now tainted. The same society that once adored her now shunned her. The irony of it was cold comfort to me. I had wanted justice, sure, but watching her fall from grace wasn't as satisfying as I'd imagined. It was just sad, a grim reminder of how far we'd fallen. The days blurred into one another, each bringing its own set of challenges. I was fighting a battle on all fronts, personal, professional, legal. But in this whirlwind of chaos, there was a strange sense of clarity. It was as if the storm had stripped away all the pretenses, leaving me with nothing but the raw truth of my situation. And somewhere in that truth I began to find the strength to rebuild piece by painstaking piece. You'd think that after a scandal like mine, the worst thing would be the heartbreak or the loneliness. But no, it was watching the empire I built from scratch crumble before my eyes. Clients I worked with for years, clients I called friends, vanished. Each email saying we're moving in a different direction was a nail in the coffin of my once thriving business. The divorce wasn't just taking my marriage, it was taking my life's work. Just when I thought I'd hit rock bottom, Mike, an old college buddy, called me up. "I've got a proposition for you," he said. He'd been following my saga, and instead of turning away, he was reaching out. Mike had this crazy idea for a tech startup, something about revolutionizing the way small businesses handle online marketing. It was risky, completely out of my comfort zone, but what did I have to lose? So, idoviin. I poured every ounce of energy into this new venture. The long nights, the endless research, the constant pitching to skeptical investors. It was exhausting but exhilarating. There's something about building something from nothing that reignites a fire in you, a fire I thought Julia had extinguished. Slowly but surely we started to gain traction. Our small team was like a family, each of us driven by our own reasons, united by the common goal of proving ourselves. We landed our first major client, then another, and then another. It was more than just a business succeeding, it was my comeback story. Meanwhile, karma was having its way with Julia. Her lover, the man she wrecked our family for, walked out on her. Cited the scandal and her manipulative ways as his reasons. Part of me felt vindicated, sure, but another part, a part one didn't want to acknowledge, felt sorry for her. She was reaping what she'd sown. But the sight of someone you once loved hitting rock bottom is never pleasant. The success of the new venture was about more than just financial gain. It was a testament to resilience, a middle finger to every doubter, every whisper behind my back, every pitiful look I'd received in the past months. I wasn't just rebuilding my business, I was rebuilding myself. Sometimes life gives you a second chance, but not in the way you expect. The day I won that court case over our shared vacation home, it wasn't just about the property. It was a symbol, a sign that maybe, just maybe, the tides were turning in my favor. It was a minor victory, but it felt like a watershed moment in the never-ending storm of my divorce. Around the same time, Julia's life seemed to be unraveling at the seams. Her financial woes were the talk of the town, quite the fall from grace for someone who once prided herself on her social status. Her so-called friends started distancing themselves, as if her misfortune was contagious. I won't lie, part of me felt a grim satisfaction seeing her get a taste of her own medicine. But life had more in store for me. My new business, which started as a desperate shot in the dark, landed a deal that was nothing short of a miracle. We secured a contract with one of the biggest names in the industry, catapulting us back into the limelight. From the ashes of my old life, I was rising stronger and more determined than ever. Then out of the blue, Julia reached out. She wanted to talk, to sort things out. Mistakes, misunderstandings, the words tasted bitter. I'd moved past the anger, but the scars were still there, raw and tender. I met her, yes, but the man she faced that day was no longer the one she left. I listened more out of curiosity than anything else. Her pleas, once capable of swaying me, now fell on deaf ears. My focus was my children, my business, not the remnants of a love turned sour. It was a surreal experience, watching the woman who once held my heart now grasping at straws, trying to claw her way back into a life she'd willingly thrown away. But the bridges were burned, and I was not about to rebuild them for her to cross again. The fallout from her choices wasn't just legal or financial. It was social suicide. The same people who once flocked around her were now nowhere to be seen. She was left to face the consequences alone, ostracized from the world she once ruled. This chapter of my life wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about learning, growing, and accepting that some things, once broken, can never be put back together. It was a hard lesson, learned through tears and turmoil, but it was mine, and it had shaped me into who I was becoming. Hey everyone! I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you do, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps me out and lets me know you appreciate the content. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing is a great way to stay updated with all the latest videos, and to be part of our growing community. It's quick, it's free, and it ensures you won't miss out on any upcoming content. So go ahead, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Your support means a lot and keeps this channel going. Thanks for watching. There's something about hitting rock bottom. It strips away all the pretenses, all the noise, and leaves you with what's truly important. For me, that was my kids. The day they told me they wanted to stay with me, not just for a weekend or a holiday, but for good, that was the day I knew I'd done something right amidst all the chaos. Their choice spoke volumes, more than any court ruling ever could. It was a bittersweet victory, though. They were seeking refuge from the storm their mother had created, and as much as I welcomed them with open arms, it pained me to see them caught in the crossfire of our broken marriage. Business-wise, things were looking up. We launched a product that was the first of its kind in the market, a real game changer. The buzz it created was unreal. We were not just back in business, we were making headlines. It felt like a vindication of all the late nights, the doubts, the risks. This success was more than financial. It was a testament to what you can achieve when you refuse to give up, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Meanwhile, Julia's world seemed to be crumbling faster than ever. The legal fees from our never-ending divorce battle were piling up, and her lavish lifestyle was no longer sustainable. I heard through the grapevine that she had started selling off her jewelry, designer clothes, remnants of a life she could no longer afford. It was a stark contrast to the life she'd chosen over our family. During this time I met someone. Sarah was her name. Meeting her was like a breath of fresh air. She was everything Julia wasn't: kind, genuine, grounded. She didn't care about my money or my past. She saw me, the real me, not the tabloid version or the successful entrepreneur. We started dating, taking it slow. The kids liked her, which was all I could ask for. She brought a sense of normalcy, a sense of peace that had been missing from my life for far too long. Julia, on the other hand, was forced to downsize. The luxurious house we once called a home was no longer hers. Last I heard, she'd moved into a modest apartment, a far cry from the opulence she was accustomed to. Part of me felt sorry for her. We'd shared a life after all. But another part, the part that had been betrayed and dragged through the mud, couldn't help but think it was a fitting outcome for the choices she'd made. Life's funny, you know? Just when you think you've got it all figured out, it throws you a curveball. But sometimes those curveballs can lead to a home run. That's what happened when Sarah entered our lives. The kids took to her like fish to water. There was laughter in the house again, real laughter. We'd sit around the dinner table, sharing stories, making plans. Felt like a family, a real family. Sarah had this way of making things feel normal, even when the world outside was anything but. But while we were finding our peace, Julia's world was falling apart. Social media can be brutal, and she was getting the brunt of it. The backlash was fierce. I'd see the comments, the judgments passed by strangers. It was a public shaming of the worst kind. I won't lie. Part of me thought she deserved it, but another part, maybe the fatherly part, felt bad. I knew the impact it was having on her mental health. It's one thing to face consequences, but another to be torn apart by the faceless masses. In the midst of all this, my business was thriving. We were making waves and people were taking notice. I was awarded for my entrepreneurial spirit, for making a comeback against all odds. Standing there accepting that award, I looked out and realized how far I'd come. From the depths of despair to a moment of triumph. It was a journey I'd never forget. It was more than an award. It was a validation of my resilience, my refusal to be kept down. The fallout from the scandal was reaching far and wide, and it hit Julia hard when her own parents turned their backs on her. They were traditional, the kind who viewed family and reputation above all else. They couldn't stomach what she'd done, the scandal she'd caused. It was a harsh blow, losing her family over choices she'd made. I felt for the kids. They were caught in the middle of this familial rift, through no fault of their own. As for us, we were moving up quite literally. I bought a new house, a place where we could start fresh. It was spacious with a big backyard for the kids, a place where they could grow, where we could make new memories. It was a symbol of our new beginning, a testament to the life we were building together. The day we moved in, I stood at the doorway watching the kids run around, exploring every nook and cranny. Sarah organizing the kitchen, her laughter mingling with theirs. Felt right, it felt like home. Life's like a road full of twists and turns. My road was veering towards a sunny horizon while Julia seemed to be stuck in a never-ending storm. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to start her own business, a boutique or something, but it tanked hard. No support, no connections, she burned too many bridges. I couldn't help but think it was a grim reminder of how alone she'd made herself. Meanwhile, our kids were thriving. Jack nailed every baseball game, and Lily, my little math whiz, was acing her classes. They'd come home with trophies and certificates, their faces beaming with pride. "Thanks, Dad," they'd say, "for always being there." Those words, let me tell you, they meant everything. It was proof that despite the mess, I was doing something right for them. The news about Julia's health hit me unexpectedly. Stress, loneliness, it was all taking its toll. I saw her once during this time and the change was stark. The vibrant woman I once knew was now just a shadow, frail and hollow-eyed. Our marriage was long over, but it was hard to see her like that. The mother of my children, someone I once shared a life with. In the midst of this, something beautiful happened. I proposed to Sarah. It was nothing fancy, just us and a sunset. But when she said yes, it felt like a new chapter opening. We started planning a small wedding, nothing like the extravagant affair I had with Julia. This time it was about us, about the simplicity of our love. But Julia, she wasn't done yet. She tried to stir up trouble, spreading rumors, trying to drag my name through the mud again. But it didn't stick. People had seen through her, and my reputation was stronger than ever, built on hard work and resilience. Her attempts fell flat, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of finality, like that chapter of my life was truly closing. Life's a journey of ups and downs, and I'd seen my fair share of both. But that day, the day Sarah and I got married, was definitely one of the UPS. It was a modest affair, just close friends and family, but it was perfect. The local media caught wind of it and gave us a little shout out. Positive stuff, eh? Local businessman finds love again kind of story. Felt good, not gonna lie. The kids were beaming, Sarah was radiant, and me? I was probably the happiest guy on the planet. Meanwhile, Julia was on a different path. I heard from mutual friends that she was doing some soul-searching, finally coming to grips with the havoc she'd wreaked. I guess solitude does that to you, makes you reflect on your life, your choices. I can't say I didn't feel a twinge of something. Not quite sympathy, but something close. We'd shared a life after all. But that chapter was closed and I had turned the page. Sarah and I went on our honeymoon, a cozy little getaway. We celebrated not just our marriage, but everything we'd overcome to be together. There were moments during those quiet evenings watching the sunset when I'd think about the roller coaster my life had been. From the depths of despair to finding love and happiness again, it was surreal. Sarah, with her unwavering support and love, had been my rock through it all. Back in town, Julia was reaching out to old friends trying to mend fences. But it wasn't going well. Too many bridges had been burned, too many words had been said. It's tough, watching someone who was once a vital part of your world become an outcast. But we reap what we sow, and Julia was learning that the hard way. On the business front, things were booming. We were expanding internationally, breaking into markets I'd only dreamed of a few years back. It was a testament to the hard work and dedication of my team, and to the resilience we'd all shown. We were making waves, and it felt incredible to be leading the charge. It was one of those parent events, and Jack and Lily had to talk about their heroes. To my utter surprise, they both spoke about me, my struggles, my comeback, how I'd always been there for them. Their words, simple yet sincere, struck a chord in me. Amidst all the chaos, I'd managed to be a good dad. And that was worth more than any business success. Julia's descent continued. She was neck-deep in debt, struggling to keep a roof over her head. I heard she tried to start a business, write a book, anything to claw her way back. But nothing took off. The book particularly was a desperate move. A tell-all about our life, our marriage. But no publisher wanted to touch it. Maybe they saw it for what it was, a last-ditch effort to capitalize on a failed relationship. On my end, things were looking up. I decided to give back, to help others who'd hit rock bottom like I once had. I started a charity foundation focused on rebuilding lives. Whether it was through financial aid, counseling, or simply giving a listening ear. It was my way of paying forward the second chance I'd been given. The highlight of this chapter of my life came unexpectedly. A major magazine got wind of my story, the downfall, the comeback, the new family, the charity work. They did a feature on me, calling it an inspiring tale of resilience and redemption. It was surreal, seeing my face on the cover, reading about my journey. I wasn't just a businessman anymore. I was a symbol of hope. As for Julia, she ended up alone. It was a harsh reality that she had to face, the consequences of her choices.